You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe things can actually be better than ever after having kids. But it takes intentional conversation, personal growth, and community to get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, life and relationship coach, fellow mom and wife, and lover of taboo topics. I'm here to give you insight, practical tools, and conversations to help your relationships survive and thrive through the big changes of parenthood. Let's get into today's episode. You guys get a twofer this week. What? I do pods, which is like a live audio-only discussion on the app Peanut. Let me know if you're on Peanut, or better yet, just find my group, Better Relationships After Baby. But Peanut is an app to make mom friends. There are lots of discussions and groups, and they also have live conversations. And so anyone can just start a chat with other moms who see it, that it's live, and jump in. And Peanut also works with some professionals, and that's how I've got included on leading discussions to enrich their community. And so today, a few of my girlies could not get on, but they messaged me that they were interested in this topic. And so I thought, why don't I go ahead and record it as a podcast? So this mini podcast episode of Better Relationships After Baby is for my Peanut girlies. But if you are not in my Peanut group, you know what? You're welcome here too. Let it be known. All are welcome in this space. So our twofer this week, we are talking about feeling misunderstood. I get this question like, how does my partner not understand what I'm trying to say? Or I said blank and they reacted blank, and I have no idea how they got there. Okay. I know firsthand how hard it can feel when you are trying your best to communicate, especially when you're in the thick of parenting little ones, and it seems like your partner just isn't getting it. And you're like, where are the light bulbs not coming on? What is not connecting? So today I want to talk about why this happens, how it impacts your relationship, and most importantly, what you can do about it. My goal every time I show up on a Peanut pod, on the podcast, at a live workshop, as a speaker, one-on-one with my clients, every time I show up, it is for the purpose of helping couples, helping people know who they are, know how to talk about who they are, know how to share with the world who they are, know how to connect with people who aren't them, and to be confident in themselves and confident and secure in the relationship that they have chosen to have, and this person that they have chosen to do life and raise these children with. So that's why we're here today. So stick with me for about 10 minutes. This will be a quickie, because by the end of this episode, I really think you're going to walk away with those practical tools that you can use today. So let me paint the picture for you in case you don't already have like 4 examples of this in your head. One of my coaching clients recently shared this with me. It had been a very long day for her, right? Tantrums, the snack was not right for the toddler, all those chaotic moments that you can imagine. And when her partner got home, he walked in, looked around at the mess, and goes, "Wow, rough day, huh?" Now, in his mind, this was an innocent joke, but to her, it felt like he was saying, "Why can't you handle this? How can other people keep a clean house and be home with their kids all day? What are you doing at home all day?" She felt dismissed and unseen, and that one little comment snowballed into an argument later that night about something completely unrelated. And you know how these arguments go. It is over something, and then you bring in something else, and then it snowballs into this other situation, and it becomes a cluster, and you don't even know where the argument is supposed to go anymore. Okay? This is why if you work with me, you are going to hear me say, I don't want you to stop arguing. I want your arguments to go to a purposeful place, They know that there's a resolution. You're working on the same team together. It's okay to have conflict, but for a purpose and an outcome and a productive experience. Can you relate to that? Because I know I can. These small moments of misunderstandings can feel huge, especially when you're juggling so much at home. So, why do these misunderstandings happen? Well, let's break it down. They happen for a number of reasons, but here are three big ones I see all the time, especially with my couples who are raising young kids. First, exhaustion and overwhelm. Let's be real, you are running on fumes. Your nervous system is not in its om or namaste most of the time. And so it's easy to rush through communication. Maybe you're short with each other or you're distracted when you're talking. That's how things get lost in translation. Number two, assumptions. We assume our partner knows what we need or how we feel, but they usually don't. And when they don't meet our unspoken expectation, this creates tension. For example, I was just talking with a couple where the mom assumed her partner knew she needed help with bedtime, but he thought she enjoyed that quality time and routine with the kids. He didn't want to step in because he thought that that was a part that she wanted to own and wanted to be her special memory. And she's like, how does he not know that here I am smiling and laughing and reading the book with mommy's perfect voice, but I would really like him to just step in and take over so I could go get in the bathtub. One assumption created so much stress for them until we were able to get that out and create some clear communication around that instance and know how to be clear and confident when that happens again. The other thing that is a huge factor here is the different communication styles. So maybe one person vents, the other jumps in with solutions. One person processes quietly while the other wants to talk it out before they can do anything else. Does this sound familiar? Here's the thing. These patterns aren't anyone's fault. So this is not point your finger at yourself and feel wah. This is not point your finger at your partner and be like, blah, blah to them. This is saying, okay, this is a pattern that we have because of who we are as humans, our experiences. We get to work on this together. You're going to stay stuck unless you intentionally work on them. I'm sorry. I wish there was a magic pill, but there's not. So let's look at the cost. Like, what happens if we don't address this? The cost can be huge because I have seen it. I have read about it. I have seen research around these things. The emotional distance. This is the kind of like red flag that most of my clients come to me with is just feeling the emotional distance. You stop sharing how you feel because you're tired or you're feeling dismissed or unheard. So you just stop sharing and you take tiny, tiny little steps back. But over time that adds up and you can feel like strangers with your partner. You're building a wall without even realizing it. And if your partner is also building a wall, then you've got double walls. And I meant for that to be like a very profound statement, but the reality is that two walls are even harder to break through than one. The cost is the emotional, the unnecessary stress. Parenting is stressful enough without adding miscommunication to the mix. Like there is enough to juggle. There is enough to stress you out. There is enough to keep track of without adding on the unnecessary mental and emotional labor that comes from overthinking things because there's not clear communication, because there are these misunderstandings. On top of that, there is the stress of just like the things of who's picking up the kids or who's responsible for paying the mortgage this month. That can really add up if you're not in a good pattern of clear communication and making sure you understand what one another is saying and the impact on the family. So don't forget, your kids notice when there's tension, even if you're not saying it out loud. I know this because my son has mirrored back to me some of my expressions, and he is able to call out when I need a break. The other day, they were leaving the house. They were going to Taekwondo, and I said, okay, I'm going to take some time to meditate and reset while you guys are gone, and then I'll have dinner ready. And he was like, that's good, Mom. You really need that. And he knew because the stress that was being carried impacts them too. And so this isn't, be a perfect human who never has stress. That's unrealistic. Like I said, my child remarked on how I was presenting myself, but this means knowing how to stop that and make a pivot, make a shift, and not adding more of that stress than just naturally comes. Okay. Here's the good news around that. It doesn't have to be your normal. Coaching is a game changer here because it gives you tools to break these patterns and get to the root of what's going on and feel like you're on the same team again. Just having conversations about this, just listening to this podcast episode and having your partner listen to this podcast episode and then saying, let's find a time to talk about that and what we took away and what we learned from that, that can be a game changer. To getting on the same page, which is what I want to give you a couple of ideas of how I help clients get on the same page. Solutions. Here are 3 simple but powerful ways to get back on the same page with your partner, even when life feels crazy busy. Number 1, you've probably heard me say these before. Number 1, the 10-minute daily check-in. Every day, have a time, 10 minutes to connect. No phones, no distractions. Share one thing you appreciate about each other that day and one thing you need help with or you need to be done differently. I had a couple try this and it was a game changer. The wife said to me, I didn't even realize how much I was missing the little things he does for me until we started sharing them. And so this sets a habit of 1, appreciation, and then 2, advocacy, talking about where change needs to happen. It shouldn't feel bad to talk with your partner about where change needs to happen. And it shouldn't feel bad because it shouldn't be petty. It shouldn't be defensive. It shouldn't be attacking. It should be, we're on the same team. Thank you for this. This is something I need some more of, or this is something that would give me a lot more freedom or flexibility or fulfillment. Communicate. Communication is sexy. Number 2, use I statements and stay curious. So instead of saying, you never help me with the kids, try, I'm feeling overwhelmed doing bedtime on my own. Can we come up with a better plan? Okay. Again, these are hard conversations, so coaching can really help here to give you those tools to reframe your communication so that your partner hears what you mean and not just their interpretations of the words you say. And schedule some connection. And yes, I'm talking about putting it on your calendar. Whether this is a weekly mini date night after the kids are in bed, I have a list of 50 at-home date nights you can do for free or very cheap. So don't use that excuse that you can't come up with something, because I will give you a list of 50 ideas. A weekly mini date night after the kids are in bed, or 15 minutes every night. That intentional connection when you're saying, I'm putting you on my calendar, I am prioritizing you, that is key. These small changes can have a big impact. So misunderstandings are going to happen. It's part of being human, especially when you're parenting young kids and juggling a million things. But I don't want this to erode your connection. Like, if you really like your partner and you love them, liking and loving them is a big deal. And it's not going to be 100% of the time, right? Like, I don't think we ever like another human 100% of the time. I don't know about you. That feels impossible to me. But if you truly, like, deep down, most of the time you like and love your partner, you're just getting annoyed or you're feeling misunderstood or you're getting frustrated and flustered because, dang it, you really care about them. And like, why aren't the things lining up for you? I don't want that to erode your connection. I don't want that to be the end of the rope for you because you didn't get help at this point. With small intentional steps, and sometimes it takes a little outside support, you do get to move from frustration to more understanding, from distant in the way that you kept building that wall and taking these steps back to taking steps towards each other, leaning in, breaking down walls, and having real connection. If today's episode resonated with you and you are ready to tackle these challenges head on, then I invite you to learn more about coaching, because it is a very powerful next step. And it is that commitment to saying, yes, I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to have the conversations. I'm willing to look at the patterns that I have and where they are and aren't helpful. It is a space for you to get clarity on what you're trying to communicate, learn the tools to express yourself, and build a stronger partnership. I work with couples. And I give you both individual sessions and a session together. So we go on a rotating basis there. I also work with individuals. So if you're like, this is not, we're not ready for me and my partner to work on this, but I have to figure out why it's hard for me to communicate or why I'm feeling so much resentment. I work with individuals too. So I am here. I am taking 5 new clients in January. So that gives you about a week from today. And if you join in January, the start of the year, I will add on a bonus session anytime in 2025 when you need a check-in or you need an SOS. So you have me in your back pocket. Reach out to me, chelseaskaggs.com, postpartumtogether.com. You will find all the information about my services and working with me, and how we are going to make the world a better place by having stronger, healthier, empowered, connected relationships. So I love you. This went over 10 minutes. It's 15. I'm going to be quiet now. Love you, love you, love you. Proud of you. Rooting for you, and see you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.